Okay, so there's a lot of optimism on in India becoming a promising, in terms with the China Plus One strategy. So the government is also owing business with production and incentives and Atmanirbhar Bharat. So but the manufacturing share of the Indian GDP has been extremely low and stagnant. So why is it happening? What's wrong? What should be done by the government to get going?
I mean, I do think that China Plus One is a big opportunity. I think the government needs to really go on a war footing to see how it can best attract all this investment. And, I wrote an article with Josh Feldman recently in the Indian Express that somehow the government, it seems to understand what it needs to do to increase the return to investors, but it just is failing to address the risk environment. The risks of doing business in India are high and have been aggravated by this government. And you should read the Indian Express article, what we mean by that. So, that whole policy environment should reduce the risk, but actually we are increasing the risk. And that's, I think, the big policy challenge. But we have to do a concerted effort at trying to see how much maximize this China Plus One investment opportunity. Some of it is happening already in Tamil Nadu itself, but we need to do more of that.
How will this special status package will backfire, sir? What will be the impact?
As it is, India, the redistribution is has a lot of redistributive aspects, that from richer to poorer states. Special status will only aggravate that, right? And if the special status is given to some rich states, then poorer states will say, what's the logic of this? So I think it really opens up a very difficult can of worms, which we should not do.
India's GDP growth has been at 8.1% in the last quarter. So I mean in FY24, Prime Minister said this is the start of something that's amazing. So what is your assessment of the state of the Indian economy right now?
It's doing very average. It's not doing, as you said, investment is down, FDI is down. I think growth is about 4.5%. Employment has not been rising. So it's a very middling economy. It's not a surging economy at all by any means.
You've been a chief economic advisor. What is your advice for the finance minister ahead of the budget, sir?
No advice as yet. After the budget, we look at it. We look at the advice. No advice for now.
Sir, one last question from me. Sir, I read a couple of columns on the poverty line. They say India as such, we do not have devised poverty line for our country. How far it is necessary to have the line on our own, with our own parameters?
No, we've always had our own poverty line. So it just needs to be updated, that's all. But then the data has only now become available after 11, 12 years. So once you have the data, we should have the poverty line as well, yeah. We should update it, that's all.